So the next one is about form filling and creating fillable forms and this kind of form handling in Collabora Online, which is coming to writer as content controls. So that's me. And what's more interesting is what's content controls. There was already fillable forms in writer before, at least two of them. One was based about form fields. Fields have the problem that they can only just contain a little bit of text, no formatting. So in case you wanted to deal with files which have fillable forms and the form and the field in text was contained some kind of formatting, then you lost that at import time. And we also had these control shapes, which is something that nicely exported to PDF, but otherwise like just terrible. Like you need to manually position them and size them, and then you hope and pray that they look like they are lined up with the surrounding text, and so they are just not nice. And what we see at the competition, Word created these content controls like 15 years ago or something, and that's their #1 form filling method since then. So we see lots of documents with this. And so far what we had previously was just kind of preserving, so you did not really see any of these content controls before. So like content control is controlling basically the behavior that's inside this container. So you can and that gives us several types, because there are different restrictions on like what is enforced for that content inside. So what you see here as a first type is rich text, which can flow to multiple lines. It might have some formatting inside, so that it might break up to different portions, and that they might have different sizes. It supports nesting, but it must stay inside a single paragraph. So it's not really like bookmarks, not really like fields, not really like shapes. We really needed something new, which is like a proper representation for this construct. Once we have rich text, which is implicitly the default type, if you don't specify any type, then you get rich text. You can have checkbox. The nice thing about checkbox is that there are these Unicode characters to look like checked or unchecked boxes, but you know it's very boring to Google for that, and then you need to copy paste that, and so that's not nice. So now we have a button on the notebook bar. You can just insert it. If you click there or you go there and press the space for users who like appreciate accessibility. That's possible to do that, and we have a content control properties dialog where you can customize. Perhaps you want a check mark and an X mark for the true and for false cases. Then we have a drop down. Drop down is about having a list of possible items, and you can choose one of these, like let's say what's my favorite color, and then we have the editing UI in the content control properties dialog, how to add new list items. We differentiate between a display name and the value, so in case you process the documents later with the script, then you are probably interested in the value, but the display name is something that is given to the user. You can do all sorts of CRUD operations on them and like move them up and down, so have some custom order. We can have a picture content control. So imagine that you create a CV template, and you want to create some, like, there's supposed to be a picture of the applicant, and you pre-format that so you can like decide the size and the border and shadow and whatnot. So you are a designer and you know how to make this good looking, but then the user of the template just needs to click on the content control, the insert picture dialog pops up. This is working nicely with the integrations, and then you can put your own picture there without losing the formatting of the placeholder. Then we can have date content controls. This is again integrating nicely with the existing functionality. We have the support for different languages and then date formats, and the date formats might be local dependent. So let's say we spell out the name of the current month, then that is local dependent. So you can like customize what date format you want, what language you want, and then you get a date picker, you select the date, and the formatted result is inserted to the document. There is plain text, which is like we did all this work to have rich text, and now you want the opposite. Which is a bit of a nonsense. The way you hear is that imagine that you have some document, let's say you have a form of like 18 pages, and all of your fillable information is content controls. And in one case you want to prevent formatting, then it makes sense to have this type. So let's say that I just selected one word and I marked it as bold, and it will be enforced that the entire content control gets bold, similar to what you used to see with like input fields, where it was more like a restriction that we were lame and could not do this. So the UI forces that you create something really simple. Combo box is the last or latest type. It's very similar to drop-downs, but we also accept free-form input. So we have all these types, and then I was checking like how this behaves with PDF export. And in the PDF export case, form fields were not exported to PDF forms at all. You can have that with control shapes, but you have this manual layout and sizing and positioning and so on. So that's a bit lame. Also, this does not really interact with styles, so you really need to manually specify what font and font size and color you want to use in control shapes. And wouldn't it be nice that content controls is part of the writer layout, so you can use writer styles there. And then wouldn't it be nice if we would also export content controls to PDF as fillable forms, and then all this styling would just work. So we know mostly supported. I think the only one which is not supported is picture content controls, because PDF doesn't really have a concept for that. But other than that, the rich text, the checkbox, all this drop down, combo box, date is working. Date will require JavaScript, so typically it works in like Adobe Reader and Chrome, and probably that's it. So not in the more basic PDF viewers. But otherwise you get something which looks like a fillable PDF form. So most of this work was sponsored by NGI and their sub-organization DAPSI. So thanks to them for allowing us to do good things. And that's mostly it. So we have something which is like a one-to-one mapping towards primary fillable form creation thing for the last 15 years. Finally, we have a matching feature set there with all these types, and it's loading and saving from ODF and docx and exports to PDF, and hopefully mostly behaving the way you would expect that. So, thanks for listening.